advancement and addition to our portfolio. Four of those two products that are already on the market is the Spark EV and the Cruise Diesel. We think those are, while small volume, certainly help us in terms of our performance and technology credibility and image. The Traverse was a mid-cycle enhancement that we launched in the first quarter, around January. Retail sales are about 20% in that very competitive market, so we're excited about that. And of course, the Impala, the 10th generation, this iconic flagship sedan, is now gaining quite a bit of momentum, and you saw probably last week. We're very honored and pleased to see the Consumer Reports scored it at 95. So not only the best sedan in its segment, but the best sedan in the industry. So we're very excited about that and pleased. But when you talk about launches in 2013, of course, the most important one that we have is the all-new Silverado. And that vehicle's in the market now. The crew cab started production about a month and a half ago. Double cab started shipping to dealers just last week, and then regular cab starts production in later this month. And then later in the fourth quarter, we get the 6.2 liter online in the high country. So nice cadence throughout the year of this new product. We do believe it is the best product and best truck in the marketplace. And those of you who've driven it, I know you probably feel the same way. So we're very excited about getting that out into the industry. Just so you know, we'll have, right now, about the end of August, beginning of September is when that transition will take place, where we have more 14s on the ground than 13s. So we're a nice transition going on now with the sell down of the 13s and the ramp up of the 14s, going very, very smoothly, so we're excited about that. Another aspect of our Chevrolet lineup, of course, is our small cars. Chevrolet hasn't been known for that, but the resurgence in our product portfolio has allowed us to be very successful in this space. Look at the Spark, the Sonic, the Cruise, and the Volt. Those four products, retail sales or total sales, for the calendar year today is up 30%. And actually in July we were up 50% versus last year. So it's a great opportunity for us to grow our brand. What's exciting about that is not only the increase in sales, but who we're bringing into the market, who we're bringing into the dealerships. Right now about 50% of the people buying one of our small cars are coming from outside the GM family. So what that means is they're trading in a Honda, a Toyota, or a Nissan and buying Cruise, a Sonic, a Volt, a Spark. The other great part about it is we're getting a younger buyer. In 2012, Chevrolet was the #2 best-selling brand among buyers under the age of 25. So we get new people in from outside of General Motors, but we're getting new people, younger buyers in too. That of course bodes well for the future of the franchise. And then our tried and true Chevrolet again in 2012 was the sales leader in performance vehicles with our Corvette and our Camaro. And we plan to continue that dominance in that segment. Of course, we introduced the Z01 last year. We have a full year of production for that. The Z28 we showed in New York. Stingray we'll talk about today, and the SS will start hitting showrooms later this year. So we're excited about our entire performance portfolio for Chevrolet. So if you take a step back and you look at where we were just 36 months ago, what our 2010 model year lineup was, that's what you saw. That was at the dealerships in 2010, 36 months ago. Now look at the lineup that we have in our dealerships, starting with the Cruise, the Volt, the Sonic, the Spark, all the way through to the new Malibu, new SS, new Camaro, and of course the crown jewel, the 2014 Corvette Stingray. But of course that's what we're here to talk about, right? So to give you the details on the new C7, I introduced Tadge, who's the Chief Executive Engineer on the C7 program. Tadge?
Thanks, Chris. You guys hear me okay? It's great to be here. We really like getting out and starting to be able to talk about this car to journalists and customers alike. We're in the throes of launching this vehicle right now. There's several thousand people right now involved in the launch of this vehicle, both in Michigan, in Kentucky, in the Bowling Green Assembly Plant where we build the car, and at our suppliers really all around the world getting ready to launch this car. We showed it for the first time in January at the Detroit International Auto Show, and people have been anticipating and expecting that it was done, it was ready to come out. We've been consistent all the way along saying the car is going to be available in the third quarter of this year, and we're still on track to do that. The cars that you're seeing out here are essentially pre-customer, pre-production vehicles that we're using to train the car builders in Bowling Green, and then all the component builders at all the suppliers. So these are kind of early build cars, so we're getting the line up and running. Still have some work to do, but we are on track to start shipping cars to customers before the end of the third quarter. Okay, you guys are getting something real special here today. The long lead media that we had a short event for, they didn't get nearly as much seat time as you guys are going to get. So you're going to get some track exercises, but then you're going to get 3 hours on the street. Nobody's done that yet. There's not been any outsiders who've had anywhere near that kind of soak time in the car. A lot has been published on the car already. I want to just level everybody up. I know some people know more and others less about the vehicle and kind of the background on it. So I just want to whip through some of the highlights. When we do a deep dive presentation on all the technology in the car, it takes about 2 hours. So I'm going to try to do it in about 20 minutes and just cover the highlights and give you some stuff to look for as you go through the day. It's not just me. We have a bunch of people here to support the event. Josh Holder is in the back here. He's our program engineering manager, also resident engineering expert at the Bowling Green Assembly Plant. Kirk Benyon, you'll be able to take advantage of talking to Kirk, our exterior designer. Ryan Vaughn, his counterpart on the interior. Harlan Charles, our program marketing manager. We have John Brzezinski, he's the assistant chief engineer for the small block V8, the heart of the Corvette. And then we also have Lee Willard. He's the engineer that we talk about when we talk about technology transfer from the track to the street. He's the tire engineer that does the work in the pits on the C6R race car, takes those lessons, combines them with Michelin's best technology for road-going tires, and for this Corvette came up with a whole new generation of performance tire that's unbelievable combination of traction, not just drive, but wet is excellent, rolling resistance is very good, and also durability is fantastic. So you can take advantage and talk to Lee here as well. So we're calling it the Stingray, and many of you have probably heard the reason why and the story behind it. It was the last thing we did. We've aspired to bring out a successful successor to the Stingray for as long as I've been on Corvette, and I've been on Corvette 20 years. But we never had the car that we thought was worthy of the name. We did the car first. We wanted to do the best Corvette we could, and then at the end stepped back and said, does this car have the visual impact, the formidable street appearance? Does it execute both on the interior, exterior? Does it have all the technology under the skin that people would expect, all the performance credentials to wear the Stingray name? And so we waited to see basically how successful we were before we decided that we were in fact going to call it a Stingray and put the Stingray badge on the side. When we first started out, one of our big challenges, in fact, I went around to some dealerships and I said, you know, we've done a bunch of years with the 6th generation car. What would you really like to see? What was your goal, or if you could give me any input on what the 7th generation car would be? The comment I heard most was not that you need this technology or that technology. They thought the foundation of the car was great. It was really, you know, fantastic performance, great daily driver, you know, excellent utility, great efficiency. They didn't have any complaints about that. What they told me was, what you need is a different body style. It needs to look different. And we didn't want to just reskin a car and basically just make it look different for different sake. So we really focused on how can we make the car look different in such a way that it actually makes it work better. So we really focused on, you know, functional changes that would make the car work better in all the ways that a Corvette needs to work. Under the skin, we wanted to use the latest technology. We're always interested in mass reduction, trying to make the car as light and as stiff, just like a race car, as possible. One of the first things we talked about, and Ryan will tell you from interior, we didn't focus on actually what the exterior is going to look like. One of the first things we did is say, okay, what are we going to do to upgrade the interior? Because that was one of the weaker areas of the 6th generation car. So everything from steering wheel seats, the whole interior layout, we really wanted to focus on that. And then, like I said, more technology transfer from the race car to the track. All the aerodynamics on the car are functional, and we use the same tools that the race team does to generate those, and we use actually the same strategies aerodynamically as the race car does. One of the things that I talk to people about, what would you do to make the Corvette better? One of the preconceptions they have, and it comes from a long, long time ago, that the car is kind of oversized, it's kind of big, it's heavy, even though the C6 Z06 is the most mass efficient car ever produced. The car still has a reputation for being kind of big and heavy, so we're trying to fight back that reputation. We really held the package, not wanting to go too big or too small, so the car is essentially carryover size. It's very close to the size of the 6th generation car, and we have a comparison here on a Porsche 911. The two cars both have long histories, have similar missions, and actually they've ended up almost having the same footprint, with the length being within 1/10 of an inch, so they're essentially identical in overall length. They're about 2.5 inches taller, and we're about 2.5 inches wider, so about this much wider overall. They're a little taller, a little more upright car, but the package is very, very close to the same. So here you have a car that's been engineered in Europe with European expectations, and we're basically the same size vehicle. We're also very mass efficient. You can see we're comparing curb weight of a Corvette, a V8 Corvette, with Carrera, and you can see we're within 48 pounds. Much better power to weight ratio, of course, with our 460 horsepower, and actually quite a bit better fuel economy on the highway. I talked about the structure. This car is really built like an aircraft. Corvette is not built like any other car in the world. We've been refining that construction over time, so it's got a metallic subframe, then it has composite bonded on pieces, and then a composite exterior skin. We focused on doing a new aluminum frame that we could put across the board. That means it's very different than the frame that we used on the C6, Z06, and ZR1. That was a fixed-roof car. And for the Corvette, the C7, we knew we were going to have the open roof, the removable roof panel on the coupe, and a full convertible. We want to use exactly the same frame for both of those. That meant we had to re-engineer the structure from the ground up. There's not a single shared part, and I say really there's hardly even a shared material or a shared process carried over from the previous generation car. It's really all new. It's 100 pounds lighter than the previous generation's frame, and 60% stiffer. And when you get out on the roads, you'll see how that transfers into very confident driving behind the wheel. The car feels really planted, really stable. We've also been a pioneer in carbon fiber. We've had it on the street for a decade. Many other manufacturers are talking about carbon fiber. They say it's the wave of the future. They say they're going to do big things. We've had it in production since the 2004 model year. And this, for the first time, we're making carbon fiber panels standard. So the hood and the roof are carbon fiber. We do it on the hood to try to shift weight distribution rear, lighten up the load on the front axle. The roof, we're taking the center of gravity down, so making that panel very light helps drop the center of gravity of the car. Also makes the roof, which is actually bigger than the 6th generation roof, lighter and easier to handle, so when you remove it and stow it in the back, it's much easier to manage. We have a couple of roof panels back here, so you can pick them up and see the difference for yourself. There's other technology under the skin where we're actually mixing carbon and glass in some of what typically is fiberglass underneath the skin. And then we also have different kinds of construction, new formulations of what is traditional fiberglass that make the car lighter and stiffer. We have a little video showing you how the car goes together. So this is like an elapsed time of how the new frame goes together and the rest of the car goes together. So if we can run that. So that's the basic uniframe going together. That's the rails. In the previous generation car, those were hydroformed, so they were the same material properties and the same thickness all the way along. Now we've broken it up into multiple pieces using technology that wasn't available when we did the last generation car, things like hollow castings. So if you cut sections through that rail, you'll see that it varies from very, very thin, almost tissue paper thin where it can be, so 2 millimeters thick and less, and then other places it's an inch thick, so the metal is a full inch thick, especially where the control arms attach, and you want the local stiffness of the structure to be very high, so you have very good, very precise control of the wheel position. Then you can see the bond-on panels come in, and finally the rest of the vehicle construction. So Very unusual construction. We've been refining it over the last couple of decades on Corvette. Extremely efficient, and it makes a great sports car. I mentioned aerodynamics, so I just want to touch on a couple of things there. You'll see the graphic up there, the cool air going in through the radiator, warm air coming out through the functional vent in the hood. If you look at pretty much every series race car on the track, lays the radiators forward, takes the cool air in, takes the air up over the top rather than taking the air underneath the vehicle. That's great for front-end downforce. It's common on a race car. It's almost unheard of on a street car, but we have that exact racing technology applied standard on the Corvette. In the back, you see the interesting graphic, the quarter inlets. There's probably more engineering in those inlets than any other part of the car. The time we spent, if you look, there's a bunch of aerodynamic blades that help guide air into that opening, and then an open cross mesh underneath it. That's to keep debris out of there. The balance of the local aerodynamics around that was a huge challenge. The race car has a vent in that exact location. It does the same thing. On one side of the car, it cools the transmission lube. On the other side of the car, it cools the differential lube. So it does the same thing, track car and street car. The race car doesn't care if they get sticks and stones in there, that it doesn't matter. But for a street car, you have to pay attention. You can't have leaves and things gathering in there. So a huge amount of engineering to get that thing flowing the way it needed to flow, and also be a good, useful car in a real environment. Even under the car, everything's different. It's very flat underneath. You can see we have an upturned vehicle over here. Depending on whether you get a base car or a Z51, so the up-level sports package, you actually get different aerodynamic treatment. The front end aero package is different. This car shows the huge rear spoiler that we need. That goes with the Z51 package. And unlike the 6th generation car, which just had tiny little wicker lips to balance the car for aerodynamic load front and rear, because we're getting so much downforce out of this front end configuration, we need a pretty aggressive spoiler on the back end to balance the car. I mentioned the interior. Really proud of the interior. In fact, we're already starting to win awards for the interior, even though the car's not even out yet. We started on all of the critical components around the interior, so starting with a steering wheel, we actually shrunk the steering wheel 10 millimeters in diameter, so it's a 360 millimeter steering wheel. Makes the whole car feel smaller, makes it feel more responsive. We also paid attention to everything between your fingertips and the tire patch. So the steering wheel, the steering column, the intermediate shaft, the rack, the way the rack attaches to the cradle, the connecting rod, the knuckle. If you look at that whole system all the way through, even the bearings, we stiffen that up so it's almost 5 times stiffer than the C6. So as you drive the car, you'll notice an extremely linear response between the steering wheel and what the car does. It is electric power steering. I don't know if everybody heard that question. You almost can't source a hydraulic steering anymore. The whole world is going to electric power steering. We've paid a lot of attention to the feedback. We have a ZF gear. They're the best in the world at EPS. And we're using the latest software and techniques to try to optimize that feedback. If you look around the interior, you'll see all premium materials. You get real carbon, IP accents, real high quality leather, real aluminum, not just tiny little bits of it, but nice accent pieces around the interior. You see the 2 high-def screens fully integrated into the interior, and the seats are much improved from the 6th generation car. You can see the seat display over here, starting with a magnesium frame, gives the car a real connection to you as you drive it. I think you'll appreciate this. We benchmarked the best seats in the world, essentially copied the best features, and then also added the content that our customers expect, and came up with a great looking seat that also works really well. There's both a standard touring seat that's a good balance overall between comfort and lateral support. And then later this year, we introduced the competition sport seat, where the bolsters are about 1 inch larger to give even better lateral support. When you talk about technology, there's a huge number of automotive technologies coming in throughout the world, and many of them are designed to take over the driving experience from the driver. We focused on technologies that enhance the driving experience. So we don't have a lot of nanny features that do the work for you. We didn't want to put cost or mass in the vehicle for those. So it's a little different philosophy than some other manufacturers. We focused on the basic driving experience. Didn't want to forget that. Many cars these days, new cars are becoming more and more homogenized. They seem much the same. We wanted to keep that Corvette character, but smooth it out in a lot of ways and just do everything focused on that driving experience. So there's a few technologies that you can really pay attention to today. There's a driver mode select that helps set up the whole vehicle for you. There's reconfigurable displays on the interior with three themes. There's a tire temperature system that actually senses how warm the tires are and communicates that to the rest of the vehicle. So all the stability controls, ABS and the like, traction control, they know whether the tires are cold, warm, or track hot, and can take advantage of the assumed traction that you would have around warm tires. We have electronic limited slip differential. That's part of the Z51 package. That has a huge effect on the way the vehicle handles. We'll be able to demonstrate that to you today. When you have a car that actually has a rear weight bias and very sticky tires, being able to transfer torque back and forth by unlocking and locking the differential can make the car go from understeer to oversteer, can stabilize the vehicle, can make it turn in better. There's a ton of things that it can do better. Then I forgot to mention active rev match, which when you're driving a manual transmission vehicle, be sure to operate that both on and off so you can experience that system. The driver mode select keys the vehicle into 5 modes, a weather mode, eco mode, tour, sport, or track, and then it's got a center button, much as we've had on C6 for stability and traction controls. And then you also have performance traction management, PTM, which we started on the ZR1, brought down to the Z06. Now it's part of the Z51 package. That driver mode selection, that one button in the center console, depending on the vehicles equipped, can control up to the way 12 different subsystems work. So I encourage you to go through the modes and see if you can sense all the changes. What you hear will change, the sound of the exhaust will change. The feel of the steering and the kickback on the steering, you'll notice the effort's very much different. You can see that there's a whole bunch of other different features and functions. So pretty much everything you feel, you know, the way the car rides, what you hear in your ears, what you see in front of you, even the displays change configuration based on the mode that you have the vehicle in. Now you can mix and match to some extent if you want to go in through the menus, but the basic way that we have the car set up and the way it comes from the factory is all that stuff tied together. So you don't have all these confusing different, you know, big rows of buttons turning stuff on and off. We try to integrate that into one control, and after you get used to, okay, it does this, well, okay, I like this steering from this one, but I'd rather have this from that one. After a while, you can customize it to your own personal preferences, but to start, we try to integrate that into the way that makes the most sense. I mentioned the reconfigurable displays. We have a video over here that'll kind of walk through how those displays work. There's a control on the steering wheel, a little 4-directional, and a center button to select. That basically walks you through the different menus. You can see we have a tour mode, and this, just to be clear, this is the 8-inch high-def screen that's right in the cluster. There's another 8-inch screen in the center stack, standard. That's not part of any option package. So the one in the cluster, that's what you see. You can see a tour mode that emphasizes vehicle information you might want cruising down the highway on a long trip. Then you have kind of a traditional tack and more sporty oriented. You can see what we call pocket gauges on either side. Even within those modes, it's customizable to what you want to see. And then we have a mode that was patterned after the cluster that we have in the C6R race car with the tachometer that really emphasizes the high portion of the RPM band, so that because on a track, that's where you're going to spend most of your time. And then you can see bar graph presentation of vehicle attributes. So like I said, this stuff will all be tied together in the modes, or if you want to mix and match, if you'd like one particular display, you can lock that in and always have that as your display on every startup. We have a 7-speed manual transmission for the first time on Corvette. At a time when many manufacturers are abandoning manual transmissions as a whole, we decided to do the best one ever done. So we did 7-speed manual transmission, and we have rev matching. This is both upshifts and downshifts. Now the default is a traditional car. People have asked, you know, am I stuck with this rev matching thing? What if I want to heel toe on my own? No, when you key up the car, it's off. So it just drives like a traditional, if you can find one, 7-speed manual transmission. But if you want to have the engine match the revs, there's paddles on the steering wheel that toggle the system on and off. So as you try it, be sure and as you're driving, do that. I find myself actually, in a single drive, I'll be turning the system on and off at different times, just based on the situation once you get used to it. There's times where you find yourself, boy, I wish I could rev match, but it's kind of inconvenient. I'm in traffic, I'm not out on a track or anywhere, and you just hit the paddle, and it guarantees you the engine's going to be matched. So you might just turn it on for a single shift and then turn it back off again. So it really changes the way you drive. You can see the gear state indicator. We have that in the various displays. So that's which gear you're in. It changes from white to orange to indicate that you have rev matching on. ELSD, I mentioned this. This is a system that's completely transparent, but it's operating all the time as you drive. Every driving situation, it's not an on or off thing. It's continuously variable. So it can go make the differential almost completely open or almost completely locked, depending on the driving situation. So even as you brake and go into a single corner, it's doing a whole bunch of different things simultaneously and continuously. It's integrated with our stability control and PTM to improve performance. Traditional stability systems stabilize the car by hitting the brakes. So if car starts to get loose, you hit the outside brake to bring you back in line. That's great to stabilize the vehicle, but also slows you down. This stabilizes the vehicle without slowing you down. It's almost imperceptible. It just makes the vehicle, especially on like a slalom course where you get transients, makes the vehicle feel incredibly stable. So, you know, people ask me, what are you proud of on the Corvette? And I tell them, well, it's not a single thing. The current Corvette is extremely successful because it does a lot of things well. It's a great daily driver, it's a great long distance tour, it's comfortable, has lots of luggage room, it's great fuel economy, but it's also a great track vehicle. Some of our customers never even drive the car in the street, they trailer it straight to a track and just use it there. So it's got this great bandwidth of things that it can do. The thing that we're extremely proud of is we've come up with a car that expands that bandwidth everywhere. The seats are more supportive and more comfortable. It's more performance and more fuel economy. The car does a lot of things that are seemingly opposed, and that's what makes the car very appealing in the long run. I mentioned fuel economy. We're really proud of the new generation of the small block engine. It carries the 6.2 liter displacement. That's about all it carries over. It's as all new as the car is. So 460 horsepower, that's with the performance exhaust, 455 without, and about a 50 foot-pound increase in torque in the low end versus the previous standard engine. In fact, it's as much torque all the way up to about 4,700 RPM as the 7-liter engine out of the Z06 that we've been selling. So you'll feel it. Lots of low-end torque. The car feels really light and really responsive because of all that torque. But I tell people it's really, if you want it to be, it's really a 3.1 liter V4. The Corvette is uniquely suited to cylinder deactivation because it's so light and so aerodynamic. So it can run in 4 cylinders a lot of the time. As a 3.1 liter V4, it can produce 126 horsepower. The system works up to 3,000 RPM. Beyond that, we figure you're going to want all 8 cylinders. So it can produce 126 horsepower. So plenty of torque to pull you down the road. A Corvette takes about 12 horsepower to push down the road at 50 miles an hour. We say up to 90 miles an hour in V4. I think we had some journals yesterday, they were over 100 in V4 mode. So this will pull the car along in cylinder deactivation at very high speed. So it'll spend a lot of time there. Depending on whether you're in eco mode or the other modes, you get more or less aggressive. In fact, on the manual transmission cars, this system only operates in the eco mode. The manual transmission is a especially challenging application for cylinder deactivation because you have the whole drive line locked up. So we're letting people deactivate it if they'd like, and so it just operates in the eco mode. And the automatic transmission, it operates aggressively in eco, less aggressively in the other modes, and if you want to shut it off completely, you just operate the automatic with the paddles as a manual paddle shifting, and that turns it off as well. So we've announced our performance previously, 0 to 60 in 3.8. That doesn't matter if it's a manual or automatic. In fact, some of our best times have come with the automatic. The car just hooks up and goes. There's a kind of magical combination of low-end torque, the torque converter. We got a low inertia torque converter as part of the new automatic transmission, and the rear weight bias, the sticky Michelins. The car just hooks up and goes. It's really easy in an automatic to get very quick 0 to 60 times. Quarter mile, 12 flat at 119 miles an hour. 60 to 0 braking distance, 107 feet. Cornering 1.03 is the number that we published, and I think some of the long lead media have already published up to 1.08 based on their testing. They test on a larger diameter skid pad, which lets the aerodynamics come into play, plants the car even better than the small circle that we use. So some pretty impressive numbers in cornering. And then we've also published a PIR Grand Course lap of 252, which if you look at, say, Corvette or Car and Driver's Lightning lap, where they use that same course, you'll see that's in the upper echelon of performance cars, almost regardless of the price. Many of the cars you'll be driving today do have the Z51 performance package. Just wanted to make sure you understood what was in that. With the Z51, you get a dry sump oil control system for oil management. That's whether you get a manual or automatic. You get more aggressive ratios in the transmission, either the automatic or the manual. You get additional cooling. You get bigger brakes. You get bigger wheels, 1 inch larger diameter wheels, forged wheels. You get different tires specifically designed for that application. And I already mentioned the aerodynamic changes. So a lot comes with the Z51 package. The cost of that is $2,800. We think we have a good claim on the most fuel efficient, never mind all the other stuff I talked about that's great about the car, the performance and, just the way it looks and everything about it. We think we also have a claim for the most fuel efficient sports car on the market. We have our EPA numbers, so the label on the manual say 17 and 29. They don't let us test in eco mode. If they did, it would be 1730, so the Corvette would have a 30 mile per gallon label on it. I can tell you that Corvettes, unlike many other vehicles, you can actually get the fuel economy that's on the label. That's been true for a long time, and this car is no exception. Under ideal conditions, it's capable of astonishing fuel economy. I've driven a 25-mile segment back in Michigan at 38 miles per gallon, just cruising along at 63 miles an hour in 4-cylinder mode. So you can also consume a lot of fuel if you want, and you guys would probably be doing more than that today, but if you're just sitting back and going on a long distance trip, just put it in eco mode and set the cruise, and the car is capable of incredible fuel economy and incredible range. The fuel tank's actually bigger than the previous generation car, so you can go just a ridiculously long way. We've had people get in the car and drive it around for a while, and they say it doesn't use any gas, that the fuel gauge just stays on full. So we have some examples here. Corvette Stingray at 460 horsepower, 29 miles per gallon. Porsche is excellent at this. Porsche has extremely good efficiency. They're designed in Europe where gas costs, what, $8-10 a gallon. So efficiency is at a premium. They got their flat 6, 3.8 liter, 400 horsepower. So 60 horsepower less than our car, 27 miles per gallon. That's even with a DCT. So it's pretty impressive that we can get to 29. If you want more horsepower than 460, you can look at a Jag 495, but it's 23 miles per gallon. Audi R8 525, a little more horsepower and far less fuel economy. So, and we're not picking the worst examples, we're picking the best examples. If you want really bad examples of performance fuel economy balance, there's plenty of those to be seen. If you want to beat our 29 miles per gallon, you got to go to a Porsche Cayman. Again, Porsche is very good, 275 horsepower out of their 2.7 liter engine. There you get 30 miles per gallon, but you know, you're 200 horsepower shy of where we are. And then a BMW, also known for good efficiency. They make a lot of hay out of being efficient vehicles. There you're going all the way down to a 4-cylinder engine to get 34 miles per gallon, 241 horsepower. So we're kind of in a unique space. I don't know if we can really make the claim we're the most, you know, somebody's going to say a Miata or so, you know, is more fuel efficient than you guys. But in terms of high performance sports cars, it's really a paradigm breaker of a vehicle. So, like I said, you guys are in for a great experience today. We're really proud to be offering this car. We think of it as a road-going private jet for two. I mean, I've been talking about the performance. You got first-class seating accommodations. We've kept the great luggage room for long trips. You know, the stellar fuel efficiency. This car really integrates with the Corvette lifestyle. The Corvette hobby folks are just going to love wrapping their lives around this vehicle. And just driving it, I mean, you'll see, especially once you get out there, I feel driving it like what people who were driving the first Stingray in '63 when they brought out that car, and it was so novel and so unique. When you drive it around, it feels like you're driving a spaceship because people are coming in and it's so different, so unusual, and such a powerful design statement. People really notice it on the road. So before I turn it over for the rest of the program, you got any quick questions for me? 6-speed automatic. Questions about the automatic?
The overall weight of the car, you said the frame was 100 pounds less. Overall weight, did I read that it's a little higher?
298, so it's a little higher than the previous generation base car. It's kind of between the base car and the Grand Sport. So even though we took weight out of the frame, if we didn't care about fuel economy, the car could be a lot lighter, doing direct injection, variable valve timing, cylinder deactivation, all the other content on the vehicle, new crash requirements that weren't required on the previous generation car. There's a whole bunch of stuff. You know, we've got much upgraded brakes on the base car, so we got fixed calipers instead of sliding calipers. If you look all around the car, there's a lot of upgrades. Some of it's due to regulatory, some of it's due just to performance. You make a 455, 460 horsepower car that drives more cooling content, the brakes, brake cooling, it drives a bunch of content into the vehicle. So you'll notice there's a big correlation between performance and mass. That's why I said the Z06, the previous generation Z06, was a car that was really kind of earth-shaking in a way. It was 505 horsepower and weighed 3,100 something, 3,132 when we brought it out. And we know other manufacturers around the world bought that car and tore it apart to figure out how we did it. We actually put more premium on mass savings in this vehicle than even that Z06. But there's a lot of headwinds, other things that are pushing back that add mass to the vehicle. You can look at the new Jag F-Type, just came out, similar size vehicle, similar kind of grand touring, two-place car. That's almost 4,000 pounds. So we're still, if you look across all vehicles for our level of power, performance, content, we're still a benchmark for lightweight. Launch control, yes, we have launch control. Both manual and the automatic, and we can, I think, demonstrate it up here for you today. The base car has a Chinzel spoiler, so not that big one. I think we have a base car out. In fact, I think we have a car out here that has no options on it. Absolutely none. We did that at the Long Lead show. No manufacturer in their right mind puts a car with no options into a media test. We're doing it because we're very confident that even the standard vehicle for $52,000 stands up very well. Like I said, it's got the two 8-inch screens. It's fully wrapped interior. You don't feel like you're missing anything in the interior. So we're proud to show that vehicle. Okay. All right. So Pete is going to give you some highlights around the rest of your day.
Thanks, Tadge. Morning, everybody. Good morning. Last guy between you and the Corvettes, the Stingrays. Welcome. We're really excited to have you. In case you can't tell by my voice, I'm enthusiastic and excited to be here too. C7 launch, these only happen, this will be the 7th time in 60 years, so we're really pleased to be here and really excited to be at the venue we're at, as well as driving the roads we're going to drive today. I have a little bit of an extended safety talk today, just due to the machines that we're going to be out there operating today, as well as the terrain that we're going to be traversing. We really have taken a route, and not that we don't do this all the time, but we've made a very, very serious effort to build the route around the car. I know last night you had dinner with the Stingrays in the aquarium. Well, where I think we're going to take you today is where the Stingrays on 4 wheels thrive, and it's Stingray heaven, to be honest with you, and that was the feedback we had yesterday, and so we're very excited for you guys to be out on the road today. We have 3.5 solid hours of stick time this morning. We were going to give you a solid mix of driving experiences and surfaces. Some of them are absolutely terrible. You'd probably say, why are we going down this road? We are because we're very proud of the car, and we want you to experience the car in every type of situation that we have out there. We're going to divide the day. We really have 2 nice driving segments. The first segment takes place from here, of course, to the Pinnacles National Monument. As you can see on the map up there on Route 25, rename that road Stingray Road myself, but wanted you to see that. Here we go on leg 1. It's about 80 minutes, 74 miles. Again, a huge variety of driving. We're going to start off a little Highway 101, Cienega Road. I want to mention to you, the first half of it is just miserable, surface-wise and everything else. Again, we matched this to the car because we want you guys to feel this vehicle over these types of roads and surfaces and let you make your own decisions. I think it's going to really showcase all the items that Tadge spoke to you about. By the way, there'll be a little quiz at the end of the morning with all the information Tadge downloaded there, so those that can keep track of all that is awesome. From Pinnacles, here we go. On down further south, down Route 25. Total distance of the leg is about distance is 82 miles, pardon me, time is 75 minutes. Run back heading west on 198. We have a 30-mile section of 101 where you're gonna actually get a chance to go after running 25. A great opportunity to run in eco mode, play with the features and functions of MyLink and connectivity and those types of things. A little California cruising on 101 is kind of how I call that one. And we'll end up at the Wrath Winery, cute little winery. We're not going to drink wine today, though, as much as it looks good and we want to, because we're going to then hustle back here from the winery. Not quite a straight shot, but about 30 miles, following farm/agricultural roads up the Lettuce Bowl, Salinas Valley, and right back here to Marina. Here at Marina, we get to have lunch, get your bellies good and full. We'll go out on the autocross course where we're gonna let you guys, there are style points awarded out there, there's all kinds of good stuff going on out there, but certainly an opportunity to put the car through its limits and maybe even try to exceed them if you can. I know our coaches out there will be asking you to keep at it. A lot of time there to get video and photography, as well as while we're out on the route. I do want to let you know, though, we do have a little bit of a time. Keep the wheels turning, so to speak. Those that are staying the second night this afternoon, I'd say, is best opportunity for photography. Get your stick time out there on the roads with the Corvette. One of my favorite slides here. This is California 25 right there, Corvette Highway. We're just tickled to death to have you here. I can't stress safety enough, folks. I heard 100 miles an hour. I won't comment on that. The rules of the road still pertain while we're out there. The law enforcement community has not gone home today. They're out there. I want to caution you, these are absolutely stunning vehicles in stunning colors that sort of stick out a little bit. So just be very, very cognizant of that. again, we've selected these roads so that we're maybe minimizing traffic and bicyclists and those kinds of things. Again, we're out driving the Stingrays. We don't want to be dodging those things, but they may pop up. I just want to caution you on that. We're here to help you. Safety, safety, safety. Experience the car as much as you can on the public roads, and when we get back here, you can experience the car to its limits. I think that's about it from me. We're gonna, from just a housekeeping standpoint, I think we may have a few people leaving this afternoon. We'll keep you on schedule and keep you moving along. Try to get you through everything that we can. We're here to help you and assist you. Plenty of subject matter experts. Be safe, enjoy your day, and have fun. Thanks.
All right, go Doors. Go.